Okay, welcome back everybody. This is a second video in a series of Genshin Impact recordings. It's also to teach you about breathing awareness as a sort of mindfulness technique you can use. If you missed the first part, you can go ahead and watch that here, the little text that pops up on the screen. Otherwise, I'm picking up right where we left off here from video 1. And so let's try to do the same breathing meditation. I know I didn't talk about it enough in the last video. I'm trying to be a little better about that. But so basically what you want to do is notice that you're breathing. That's just the essential aspect of it, is to feel your own breathing. It's something that we all take for granted every day. Like, we breathe all the time. Even while we're asleep, we're still breathing, but if you can actually put your attention on your body, inside of your body, basically, and feel the breath as it's happening, feel the breathing as it's happening, feel your the air coming in onto your body. Take an in-breath, and you can feel the air come into your body, and then exhale, and you can feel, your abdomen expanding and contracting. You can feel the air going into your lungs and all that. So when you do that, slows down your mind considerably. So if you're the kind of person that struggles with a racing mind and it seems to never stop, or even just, like if you just want a sense of peace for a moment, like you're feeling overwhelmed or whatever, this is a really good technique. You can just stop what you're doing and, focus on your breathing. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing, whatever, you can do this technique. So I want people that are watching this, ideally, to, whether I remember to remind you or not, because I seem to be pretty bad about adding in reminders, but as much as you can while you're watching this video, try to breathe and focus on your breathing. Notice that you're breathing. Feel your breathing as you're watching this video, and feel the relaxation that comes with it. So where did we leave off from yesterday? Well, let's see. We haven't talked about this, the battle pass. So this is a reward section that, if you can see on the top here, you hit the right and left shoulder buttons on the controller. And we see we've got sections here for daily missions, weekly missions, and then this battle pass period, which is lasts for another 25 days at the time of recording this. So these battle pass things tend to go for almost an entire update worth. So every game update is 6 weeks apart. So this will last for almost 6 weeks. I think it ends like a day or two beforehand or something like that. So it's not quite the full period, but it does last for quite a while. So they give you quite a bit of time to do these sorts of things. And you can see here the ones with the check marks are ones that I've already completed in this period. And so they just give you, usually a lot of these will be recurring, like make a total of 50 wishes on the banners. That is going to be on every single battle pass and stuff like that. Same with the Imaginary Theater and the Spiral Abyss. We haven't looked at those features yet. I might do that today, actually, a little bit, just to show you what those are about. So these ones that are here right now are all recurring events. So these will almost always be on there, that you can do these and get these little experience points towards your battle pass level here. So, and then the weekly ones, these are a little bit more I don't want to say useful, but like these are a little bit more in reach no matter what. For some of these, for example, like cook 20 dishes and 420 items, you could easily do that once a week, so. And then there's the daily one. So these are also tied to like the daily commissions, and I talked about that in the first video, but we haven't seen those yet either. But they're daily like mini quests that you can do. And so if you complete them all for the day, they give you additional rewards for this as well. And so as you get these battle pass levels up at the top, you can see here I'm at level 20 right now. It just unlocks some more rewards here. And so there's 2 tiers of this. There's the Sojourner's Battle Pass, and that's the normal one that everybody gets. So no matter what, as you reach these different levels in the Battle Pass, you'll get the associated reward on this top row here. Now the bottom one, the Gnostic Hymn, it's it's a paid thing. So basically this is I think it's, if I remember right, it's $9.99, so $10 basically, for the Battle Pass period. Now, it will unlock all these things. You can see they have the little lock icon on the bottom of them there. So if you do want to pay for that, you can, and it will give you all these additional perks for whatever levels you've unlocked. Now, some personal recommendations here. I've done this a couple times. I've gotten the Gnostic Hymn, and while the rewards are very helpful, I would still more strongly recommend the Blessing of the Welkin Moon instead, as I talked about that in the first video. But as far as the monthly paid options, I feel like that one is much more worthwhile for what you get. The problems with the Battle Pass and paying for them, first of all, you don't get nearly as many. You can see here we get Intertwined Fate as one of the rewards, but you don't get nearly as many of those for the amount of money that you spend on it compared to the Blessing. So, because you can get 2 months worth of the Blessing for the same price as one, Gnostic Hymn Battle Pass unlock for one period. So, I believe it's like 7 or 8, if I remember right, Intertwined Fates that you'll get from the unlocking the paid Battle Pass versus, what was it? I think 18 or so of the, worth of Prima Gems that you can use to get Fates. So you can get about 18 Fates worth, just from doing the Blessing of the Welkin Moon. And that's per month. So you would actually, get quite a bit more out of that. Now, one thing that is helpful, let me explain the other downside to this, is that for this to really be worth the money, you have to play the game a lot. Because you can see here, I'm at level 20 on this current Battle Pass. And so it keeps going up, and the max level that you can reach this at is 50. Now, ideally, you can see there's a lot of Prima Gems at the end there, so that's a good portion of your fates. So if you don't think you're going to make it up to max level 50 in time, then this is going to be significantly less helpful for you to actually get the paid upgrade for the Gnostic Hymn. As a minimum, I would say do not ever buy the Gnostic Hymn Battle Pass upgrade unless you've at least reached level 30. And that's because you get this item here. Let me see if it lets me check on it. BP bounty. Okay, it doesn't actually tell you what it... Well, anyways, level 30, you actually unlock a special 4-star weapon, and we can see these over here on this tab. So this is the BP bounty weapon. So you at least have to reach level 30 before it's even remotely worth the $10, in my opinion, because this is kind of one of the big draws for buying the Gnostic Hymn upgrade. It says, after unlocking Gnostic Hymn and reaching BP level 30, you can select a weapon of your choice from the Battle Pass bounty. So we've got a couple of different options here. There's 10 currently on the Battle Pass. There used to only be 5. These ones on the side here were added, I want to say like in, I don't even remember when it was added, maybe the 4.x, anyways, a couple of years ago, they added these extra ones here. But so we've got 10 now that we can choose. They may add some more in the future, I don't know, but there's just these different weapons, and these are all 4-star weapons. None of these are terrible. There's some that are pretty good for certain characters. Like the Deathmatch is a popular spear to use for quite a few characters. That's useful. This one, Serpent Spine, does a lot of damage, but the problem with this weapon is that your characters will take more damage when they wield it, so it's a trade-off. Some people really like that they can deal more damage, but I don't know. For me, I kind of prefer not having to take more damage with it, but I've gotten most of these because I want to say I've gotten the Battle Pass upgrade maybe a half dozen times over the years. But more and more, I feel like it's not really worth it because what you pay for what you get is not really that big of a deal. Unless you really want one of these weapons. And there are some characters that these are good weapons, like the Black Sword is a really good weapon for certain characters. And there can be some cases where that's useful. So it's just up to you whether you think it's worth it. But I would say absolutely do not buy it unless you're at least level 30 on the battle pass, because otherwise you won't even get the weapons. So, but ideally you can, get all the way up to level 50. These days I don't even consider purchasing it if I haven't gotten up to max level on this battle pass. So, but that's, you can just see, you get some additional rewards. The downside with this one is that you do have to play very actively. If you're not playing, I would say at least 4 or 5 days a week, you're not going to be able to reach these higher levels, and you're not going to be able to get the full rewards out of it. So, it's just, it's for players that are very active and, active with the game, playing a lot and playing regularly and able to get, these higher levels of the battle pass. So otherwise you don't have to pay anything to just get these basic rewards at the top. And even though you don't get the special weapon and all that, you'll still get some useful things like fragile resins, and which we talked a little bit about last time. And you'll get the blue fates, which I didn't really go over those ones. Let me talk about those in just a little bit. But you can see here daily missions, so you automatically get some experience just for logging in every time. So you can hit claim, and then it moves this bar over a little bit. And, if you get the daily stuff done, then you usually get close to another level or whatever. So if you're looking for ways to raise your battle pass level, you had to complete these objectives in here, either the daily ones, the weekly ones, or for this battle pass period. So, and the daily ones reset, and so do the weekly ones, of course, when their time's up. So if we've got 4 days and 15 hours from now, and then a new set of weekly ones will be there. So say, for example, I completed these, cooked 20 dishes and 20 items. Well, then in, 5 days from now, I could go back and do this again for another set of experience, and, on and on it goes. So that's the battle pass. That's what that's about. If you don't want to deal with all the paid stuff, just think of it as free extra rewards that you get if you complete these objectives. And that's all. It's pretty simple. Let's see here. I'm not sure what to focus on today necessarily. Let's take a look, actually. Let me see what the daily... Okay, so these are the daily commissions. Let's go. I haven't actually done these in a while because there's an alternative way you can approach it to where you don't have to do the actual commissions. But let me go ahead and actually do some of these. So just to show you how it works. So each day you get these 4 commissions. And they're basically little mini quests. And this one says talk to Mushing. It says Mushing seems to know a great deal of Geo Archon lore. So sometimes there'll be little stories and things, or they'll want you to collect certain items, stuff like that. And then other ones will just be like this, where it says defeat all opponents. So these will just be little battles. Hilly Turtles are manufacturing exploding barrels in the wilderness. Stop them. So you have to go, complete a little battle objectives. And so this one, defeat the Fatui agent. So we'll just quickly go through these real quick. And so here in the quest log, if I just hit navigate, it will pull up exactly where I need to go. And if I click on that, it doesn't really do... Okay, it's not really doing anything I was just going to see if there was any other prompt there. But so when it's like that, it's like you can't go exactly to where that is. But so I just happen to know that this waypoint right here is a good one to use to get a high vantage point. So I'll just go ahead and teleport there. So this is actually entering Liyue. It's a whole separate section. We were in Mondstadt before. This is a whole separate area of the game. I guess we can stay with Skirk's team. We haven't really actually get to see them battle that much from the first video. I ended up spending most of the time in the test run. Now you can see here that the little purple exclamation shows up, and you get this big light beam or whatever here. That's just like with the Statue of the Seven when we saw that before. Just trying to help you see where you need to go, even if you're further away from it. So let's just go ahead and do this. So one other thing you can do too, and I'll just show you, she'll probably take a little bit of damage, but if you're up high, if you press the B button to do an attack, you'll actually do what's called a plunging attack. And so she took a little damage. You can see at the bottom there, she's at 19,497 out of 21,678 of her HP. But if you had just fallen from that height instead of doing a plunging attack like that, like if I had run out of stamina and I couldn't keep the wind glider open anymore, Skirk would have just gotten instantly KO'd. It was too big of a height, so she would have taken too much damage. But you can do a plunging attack like that to not only attack any enemies, like if there was enemies down here, they would have all taken damage from that. But it also just mitigates a lot of the damage that she would take. So she's pretty okay still without, even from a really high height like that. It didn't really damage her that much. So I'm still going to bring Kokomi up here, and I'll use her elemental skill, which I didn't talk about that much yet. I used it a little bit in the last video, but so she creates this little jellyfish, and every time it does one of these pulses of hydro like that, it actually heals the active character. So you can, just like with what we saw with Diona with her little elemental burst where she creates that little ring, Kokomi's is right on her skill, so she can use it more frequently than her burst. She doesn't have to wait for her burst to totally recharge, and instead she can heal the whole team just by switching to the different characters. So whichever ones are low on HP, you just switch to them and wait for the pulse, and then it heals them up. So that's how her skill works, and her burst actually heals the whole team as well, but it does it whenever it like empowers her normal attacks. So you have to do it in battle. So I'll show you that when we're in a little bit of a combat situation here. So let's talk to Mushing here. Let's see what he's got to say. That is all I ask. What are you doing? Worshipping the Geolord. I take it you aren't from around here? This is Yiyan Temple. I apologize if I mispronounce any of the names. I try my best, but I'm not really well versed in different languages. So the people in Liyue Harbor come here all the time to offer incense to the Geolord and to pray for good luck. I live very far away, meaning I don't have the chance to come here and offer incense very often. So each time I come, I spend a little longer to make up for it. I've read a lot of ancient texts about the Lord of Geo, and the more I read, the more awestruck I am by his greatness. So archons in the world, that's what he's talking about, the Geo Archon. They're kind of like the world's deities. They're godly figures, whatever. And each one is tied to a specific element. So when I think about all that he has done for Liyue Harbor, the fact that I have to travel that little bit further to offer some incense to him seems like a small price to pay. So this person is very devout. They're very they're really worshiping the Geo Archon. So it's like, you probably don't know a lot about the Geolord, do you? I can tell you all about him if you'd like. That said, just listening to me talk probably won't make it sink in. I have an idea. Go look around nearby Liyue Harbor and gather some things I can use as props. Having some props will really help me bring my narration to life. And so here we can choose either okay or what kind of things should I get. Anything that you feel is connected with Liyue Harbor or the Geolord. So whenever the text goes in like blue like that or a different highlighted color, it's just kind of draw your attention to make sure that even if you were skimming through the text or whatever, you would not miss something that's important related to what you need to do. Though now I think about it, I don't know all that many stories, and not everything is worth telling. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, off you go. So this one's more of a interesting little collection quest thing. It says give Mushing things relating to Liyue. So I already have a bunch of items from Liyue, so he probably just wants something that I've already got, which is why it points me right back to him. If I was missing something here, it may just say go collect something. So you might go over here, for example, and collect these soap flowers. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe this is related to Liyue, or so that might be an item, or this glaze lily right over here. So it's probably something like that. We'll see in just a second here, but Since he wanted things related to Liyue Harbor, let's see what he's actually asking for. Usually these kinds of daily quests will actually have multiple things you can turn in. Now, another thing I didn't talk about also, if I press the left stick in like a button, you can see it makes that little icon show up again, and it kind of flashes. And then you can see this golden sparkling trail here. This is the game's pathfinding, so it actually is leading you like, hey, follow this trail and you'll get to wherever it is you need to go. So whenever you see that little golden sparkle trail, after you click one of these things, click the button in to track whatever quest you're tracking, it actually points you to it. So it's like, if it's very helpful if there's like difficult terrain and you're not really sure which way to go. Like for example, I'll try to do it over here, see if it points me from here. Usually it will give you, see, it gave you little sparkles. It's like, okay, go this way and go around this corner, then go this way. So it helps you to know where to go without having to like just eyeball it your own self the whole time. So let me see what he actually wanted. It says, found anything? And so, okay, yeah, so there's a ton of things I could give him here. So now whenever you get one of these, and there's even multiple things, so I could give him these minerals or plants or other things that I've found around here. And then you can see even here, like, it gives you two options with the exclamation points on the top. So I could even give him dishes that are related to Liyue cuisine and things like that. So this one gives you a ton of choices. They don't usually give you this many options, I feel like, but there's a lot. So I would recommend for anything like this where you can, pick something that you have a ton of, because you won't miss it if you're, he only wants one, so it's not that big of a deal. But say, for example, this glaze lily here, and I can click the right stick in. Well, maybe I can't, not on this screen. Usually you can to like see what the actual item is, but maybe I have to actually press the A button to select it. So glaze lily, this is what I was trying to show. So you can see what it actually is. So I can either submit that or I can press B to go back and choose something else. But just for the sake of example, since I can choose all these, I could pick this glaze lily related to Liyue, or I could also pick this Durian chili right here. But since I only have 17 of those versus 500 of these, it's going to be obvious that I'm going to want to pick the thing that I have 500 of, because there are certain items that are harder to come by than others. And so if it's just for a simple quest like this, it's much better to give something that's really easy to get and isn't going to set you back much, versus something like this where you might be struggling to get enough of these. And so, you'd give away one of your 17 versus one of your 500. You can spare the one that you have 500 of way easier than the one that you only have 17. So it may be obvious, but it's just one of those simple things where it's like, well, a good idea to pick something that, the easiest thing to come by that they let you use, basically. So I'm going to pick this glaze lily because these are a local specialty from Liyue. There's some other items here that aren't Liyue local specialties, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think that will meet his requirements well enough. So you pick which one, and it says 1 out of 1, so you only needed to give them 1. Sometimes they'll ask for like 3 or 5 or something of a specific item. And other times you won't have nearly this many choices. It might be like 2 or 3 things you could pick from, and that's it. So, and other characters will ask for a very specific item, and you'll get the same kind of screen. So go ahead and hit the X button to give it to him. And he says, interesting. Now, where did you get that from? I have heard that this is only found at Yujing Terrace these days. This item serves as an excellent prompt for talking about the Lord of Geo, a very considered choice. But in fact, this glaze lily also strikes at the very heart of what makes Liyue Harbor tick. So he probably would have some different dialogue, depending on what item you chose to give him. So that's another kind of interesting thing that would probably happen. Confused? Think about it. What is special about glaze lily? It's precious, exactly. Glaze lily is highly precious. You can sell it for a very good price and earn lots of mora. So, mora are named in honor of Morax, another name for the Lord of Geo. So to many people, the Geo Lord is the god of wealth. Almost every merchant in Liyue no matter how big and successful, will always make time to offer incense to the Lord of Geo before they go out to do business. This is quite simply because the Geo Lord is the wealthiest person in the whole world. He's the Lord of Contracts. Even among the seven, surely he must be the wealthiest of the Archons. So the statues of the seven are basically the statues of these Archons. And each land, it's like, well, that's all I have to say about that. Maybe we can talk some more next time. So with that, it'll say quest completed, and he disappeared there. That's kind of normal for that to do that. And we actually got a little bit of a little item there, Legend of the Geo Archon God of Wealth. So there's a little story thing there. And so we can see now it immediately says defeat the Fatui agent. So what the game did without us prompting is it went to the next daily commission quest. So now you can see there's only 3 left because we completed one of them. And it started to just track another one nearby. So it automatically did that for you. Like, okay, now you need to do this daily commission as the next one. So it's sort of a quality of life feature where they just immediately have you track the next one that you need. So we can see this one's further away. It's, quite a ways. So it's outside of town. Let's see here. And now you can see that little arrow pointing at the top with the purple diamond shape on it. It's trying to tell us like, hey, where you're trying to go for your next quest is up off the visible map. So you actually have to scroll with the left analog stick, and then we can see here is where it's tracking. So there's no nearby, there isn't one right nearby. Nope. There's no nearby teleport waypoint. So this one we might actually have to walk a little ways to get to. I was thinking of this teleport waypoint up here, I guess, but no, I thought there was one over there, but okay, so let's just pick this one, that's fine. So you just pick one nearby, and there won't always be a, super close by thing, so, and that's okay. Let's grab Skirk. So again, we talked about before how to, know which direction the camera's facing on the mini-map and everything. And you'll just use the mini-map for reference. Now here's kind of something interesting, because it's like, okay, we're just right at this wall. So, Liyue has a lot of really, really tall cliffs. This one's actually not that bad. But there, especially in the beginning when you first get here, you won't have as many, you won't have as large of a stamina bar. So there's a lot of spots where you're going to just have to like go kind of slow and gradually recover your stamina. So when you're not climbing, you still have that bar filled back up again. So when you're climbing, a little bit like this, it goes down slow. Like I showed you before in the other video, if you jump, it goes down fast. But as soon as you stop climbing on something, the bar actually refills on its own. So that's kind of what you want to do. If you're climbing a larger cliff like this, I'll just show you again. You want to look for spots like these where you can stop and rest and your character's not physically grabbing onto the wall like this. Because when they're standing, or when they're grabbing onto the, the cliff like that, the stamina's not going back up. It's just staying stuck because they're still, clinging to it. They're still climbing, so it's not going to recharge. But if you can find a spot like this where you can stand, then it refills on its own. So you just make gradual progress from safe point to safe point. So if you're going over here, well, I slid down a little bit further than I wanted there, but you might be going this way and then you can reach this, and then you want to pause a little bit and let the bar refill. So it's good. Otherwise, if you run out of stamina, then your character won't be able to grip onto the wall anymore, and then they might fall down a really long distance, and then you can KO your character from that if they ran out of stamina. So just a general how that works, just a general overview of how that's supposed to work. And now here's something we didn't see yet, I haven't talked about yet, but this is like a little mini challenge area. So these are all over the map. And they're just they're in specific locations, and so you'll just come across them as you explore. Let me see what each one is a little bit different. The type of challenge it is, it might be like a timed puzzle, it might be a battle, it might be some other kind of parkour related objective, and they'll tell you what to do. Let's just see what this one is. Opponents defeated. Defeat all opponents within 60 seconds. Okay, so this is the battle one. So with Skirk, I'm just going to use her attacks. So what her elemental skill, it empowers her normal attacks. So she's a main DPS character. I believe I talked about that very briefly. And so with her skill, you want to use her skill, and you can see she gets this glow, and there's a little bar that goes down. And that it's called imbuing. It imbues her normal attacks with cryo element. So you can see normally the white numbers, that's physical damage. And then when I do this to use her skill, and you can see they turn to the blue and they do quite a bit more damage. So it empowers and imbues her attack. So the blue color, the light blue, is cryo damage, and that's her element. And so in the game, the color that the numbers are represents the type of damage that they were. So like a darker blue is, and it matches their element. So you can see in the other characters, like Furina is hydro because she has the darker blue. Escoffier is cryo also, just like Skirk, because she has the lighter blue color icon next to her for her burst. And then Kokomi is also a hydro character. But so since Skirk has a sword, she'll do physical damage normally. But when you use her skill to empower her attacks, then she'll do cryo damage while that's active. And her burst also further empowers her attacks. So she's a normal attack character. And not all of them are like that, but that's kind of how she works. Like both of her skill and her burst make her normal attacks even stronger than before. So what you want to do with her is use her skill, then use her normal attacks, and when it's ready, use her burst and see she gets even more powered up, and then her normal attacks are just as strong. So now Kokomi, she's a little bit different. She has a different kind of weapon besides the sword. It's called a catalyst, and you can see that one there, the little yellow bead with the thing spinning around. That's the particular type she has. But the interesting thing about catalyst wielders, not only are they ranged attackers here, you can see she shoots off these little water balls, but they do not do physical damage. They always do elemental damage. So even her normal attacks will do hydro aligned damage. So it's not just physical attacks like Skirk does. So that's very helpful in making elemental reactions, because Skirk has to use either her skill or her burst before she can apply a cryo element to her attacks. But Kokomi doesn't have to worry about that. She can just instantly use a normal attack and she'll be doing hydro damage. So for example, if you remember back to the first video when we were wrestling with that boar, the combination of hydro and cryo together froze them for a little bit. It makes the frozen reaction. So we can probably see that here. I'll just use that really quick on our Fatui agent that we're supposed to defeat here. So Kokomi's, and this also applies hydro damage, her elemental skill. But even her normal attacks will do it. And this guy kind of goes invisible, and that's his whole thing. So let's freeze him using Skirk's abilities. And I see he's in the frozen status now. And Skirk's really strong, so I just defeated him too quickly. But but you could see there, like, not only did it make him not be invisible anymore when he got frozen, but it was the combination of the hydro and the cryo damage that created the frozen reaction. So, and a lot of elements in the game will react together. Some do not. Like Animo and Geo are the ones that struggle to react with certain kinds. Animo, Geo, and Dendro, it just depends. Those are, if you put those together, they don't really react with each other at all, those three elements. But if you have Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, or Electro in the team, then all those elements can react with those. They'll react with the other ones. So it's probably easier to actually show you. But it says, so we've got the next. So this is all you do for the daily commissions. You're just doing little tasks like this. And these are the things that you want to do, like I said, it takes like 20 minutes out of your day, whatever. It may not even take that long, depending on the types of daily commissions you get. But it doesn't take too long to complete them, usually. It just says, complete the challenge by protecting the leyline monolith. Okay, I haven't done one of these in ages. But these are kind of interesting. So here we've got the next one on the map. And it's kind of also in the middle of nowhere. Let's teleport to this statue of the 7 here. That's pretty close to everything else. This is a nice panoramic view here. You can see all this going on. This is way up high in the mountaintops and stuff. So In a lot of games, you would just see this stuff and it would just be scenery, but every single mountaintop and every single tree and rock, and you can technically reach everything that you can see. Some of it's really far away and you wouldn't be able to like just walk there from here necessarily, but you know, with other teleport waypoints and stuff like that, like you can reach everything you're looking at right now, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. And so we can see here we've got that little beacon of light again to show us like, hey, your objective's this way, and it's down there a little ways. So go ahead and just glide, and see that includes gliding. You can just glide for quite a while as long as you've got that stamina bar still. And then we had an updraft to help push us and help us go further here. So you can really glide for quite a long time. You can see like it doesn't waste very much energy, or not, sorry, it doesn't waste very much stamina to glide. It's like I've gotten like maybe a quarter of the way out of what, you know, so I could keep gliding and gliding and gliding. But we know where we're looking to go is right below us. So if you press the A button, you can just drop and not have the glider, and then you can press it again towards the bottom of your fall right before you reach the ground. So that's a way to conserve some stamina if you know that you're just going down quite a ways. You don't have, and it goes faster too. You don't have to wait for it to go all the way down with the gliding. And then the stamina just automatically refills, like I said. So it's there are items that can recover your stamina. It's food items that you can use. Let's just take a quick look, see if I can find an example real quick here. They usually have the little, there it is, this little muscle icon in the top left there. It says restores 80 stamina. So you can use something like this. There are a couple spots in the game where it's so far away that you're trying to reach and that you may need to use something like this to restore your stamina, like either in the middle of climbing up a really tall cliff and you're not going to make it because you don't have enough stamina, or swimming is another thing that can take your stamina. Like, so if you're swimming somewhere like really far out in the distance, you might not be able to make it. Normally you might get close, but then you can use an item like this to help recover a little bit of it. But it's got a long cooldown on it, so it's got a long wait time until you can use a second one, in other words. So you can't just rely on that, you know, you can't just keep using a ton of stamina food or whatever over and over to swim forever. It doesn't, you know, there's limits, so. But that is something you can do in a pinch if you need to, if you're stuck. Like, oh, I'm caught between a spot that I'm not going to be able to reach, and I thought I could, and, you know, so. You can sometimes fall back on stamina food. But otherwise, it just refills on its own. You don't have to do anything but stand still for a second or two, and it'll, you know, it refills on its own. So it's not something you normally have to worry about, like constantly refilling it on, like, oh, I got to use this item to refill my stamina. No, you just wait for a couple of seconds somewhere where you're standing on ground and not, you know, not in the middle of swimming or climbing or whatever else. And it'll refill, So this is the next challenge. This is complete the challenge by protecting the leyline monolith. So this is the leyline monolith. So this is the thing where once I press the start button, this will basically have its own HP bar, and enemies will try to attack it. And so you have to protect it. So you want to take the opponents out before they can do a bunch of damage to this. They'll go after this, and they'll kind of ignore your character, which is opposite of what they usually do. So these are kind of interesting. So let's look at Furina. We haven't talked about her too much. And so you can see, protect the ley line. So they're just going straight for this. So Furina is an interesting character because not only does she have these little puppeteer friends, whatever they are, little hydro buddies. So they'll do a bunch of, she's one of the best off-field characters in the game, actually. She does a ton of off-field damage. And so these guys will automatically float around here and attack. And see, she's almost taking them out just on her own. Like, I don't even need help from the other characters right now. But she just did. She just completed that whole entire thing by herself. So anyway, so she has her little helpers, and they're here. And they've got fancy hats and stuff. And they'll just automatically attack things that are around them. So like you saw, they were automatically targeting. I wasn't having to do anything to control them or anything. They were just automatically doing damage. And they're doing hydro element damage. But now, if you look closely at the character in the party, their HP bars, something weird happened. So this is Furina's downside. If you're using her to deal damage like this with her little friends, oh, this is a fun animation. That's one of my favorite animations in the game. Anyway, so anyway, if you do that with her to attack, every time these guys do damage, it actually drains the HP of your entire party. So all the party is at like half HP now. So she's really, if you're going to use Furina to deal damage, you better have a strong healer in the party that can keep up with that, because otherwise you're going to be just getting, a lot of parties getting KO'd and getting basically a game over, but the game doesn't punish you too bad for stuff like that, really. It'll just send you back to the most recent spot. But anyway, it makes it harder for your team to survive. So one thing that Furina can do, though, most characters, if you hold their basic attack button, so like Skirk, these are her normal attacks, and I'm pressing the button multiple times. Now, if I hold the button, she does this stronger attack. This is her charged attack if I hold the button down. So she'll do this, and it usually does more damage or attacks in a wider area, something like that. Furina, however, she has her basic attacks, but if I do a charge, you can see she changed. This was her charge attack. So she doesn't actually have a charge attack, because what happens with her is she switches stances or forms or whatever you want to call it. She actually switches outfits is really what she switches. But we've got this one, and then we've got this one. So when she's and the one has longer hair and a longer flowing dress. Actually, I guess the dress is about the same in the back. I didn't realize. So it's just the color, I guess. It changes from black to white, and then her hair is longer in the white version. So this form, how I had her right now, this is her attacking form. Now, if I do her charge attack when these guys are here, you'll see it changes to this different type, and all of a sudden now she's healing herself. So Furina is a very interesting character because she can be both a healer and a damage dealer, but not at the same time. So she has to switch forms as she's in battle. So now she can deal damage, and now she can heal. So it's difficult to build her for both things. So most players, I think, will pick her as a damage dealer because that's kind of more what she was built for, designed for. But this healing is actually really good too. As you can see, it's got a very long duration, and it's off field as well. So I can switch to Skirk, and it will heal whatever the active character is. See, now she's getting healed. So I can switch to Escoffier, and she'll get healed too. And you can see the duration is still going, so it just periodically heals. And it's still pretty strong healing, even though I don't have Furina built up as a healer focus. I have her built as a sub-DPS for off-field damage. She still heals pretty well, and you can see it lasts quite a long time. It lasts even longer than Kokomi's little jellyfish friend here. So, and so that's how Furina operates. She can switch back and forth freely at will, so you can switch to her, but her downside with her, aside from dealing damage to her whole party all the time, a little HP vampire, aside from that, she can only heal the active character, so she can't heal the whole party, whereas Kokomi, her burst, she can heal the whole party, and her elemental skill, she can heal, the active character. And then Escoffier, her burst also lets her heal the whole party as well. So, and I guess I haven't really talked about her yet, but let's try to get this next battle going, where we've got, I can explain while we're in battle here. And so let's teleport. This one's really close to this waypoint, actually, so we shouldn't have to go very far at all. So Escoffier is also a sub-DPS character. She does a lot of great damage and cryo application with her elemental skill. Now this is kind of like a leap of faith, because this is way down here and you can't really see. Okay, I guess you can. I was going to say, go off into the mist there, but... so she's another one that does like an auto-target sort of setup. So I'll use her skill, and it brings out this little robotic dinner plate, serving plate. And so you can see it's just casting these little ice balls and it's dealing damage. And so that goes on off field. So even if I bring out Kokomi, she's still got the ice going on. So you can combine that with Hydro for freeze and so on and so forth. And then when I use Escoffier's burst, she does that, and that heals the whole team initially. Like when that first batch of damage showed up, that heals the whole team. And then it also periodically heals. You can see those little blue, it was like a blue-orange slice, whatever, frozen cryo orange slice. They were spinning around here. While that's going on, it still heals the active character periodically too. So I actually have quite a few healers in this team, but because I have both the Escoffier and Kokomi, Kokomi especially is a really strong healer, but Escoffier is pretty good too. I'd say she's only like one step down from Kokomi probably. Because I have both of them on here, this team is very sturdy. They don't have to worry about taking the damage from Furina's abilities. And so it's like a perfect combination. And on top of that, Skirk is a really strong main damage dealer, main DPS character in the game. She's one of the strongest actually right now. Still one of the strongest. And so this team is really sturdy and strong both. So it really works out well. This is, like I said, this is one of my, I mentioned it briefly in the previous video, but this is one of my newer teams that I've put together because I just got Skirk not very long ago. I missed her on the first time her banner came around. And so when that happens, there's two different kinds of banners for characters. There's the first time that they show up, like Linnea, we saw that one yesterday. Or yesterday. Well, it was yesterday as I'm recording this. In the previous video, I meant to say, sorry about that, a little context would help. So we saw that then, and that's her debut banner. So it's her debut. She just came out. She's a new character. She hasn't been in the game before this, and so that's her debut banner. So what happens with that is usually they will have the debut banner, and then if you miss the character that time, they will get from then on. There's what's called a rerun banner. So the returning character at that point. So the first rerun banner tends to come back around sooner than subsequent rerun banners would. So I'll just use this figure off the top of my head because sometimes it's accurate and sometimes it's not. They're never 100% consistent on the timing. But so let's just say right now, since Linnea is got her debut banner, well, her first rerun banner might be 6 months from now instead of a year, for example. And that's pretty common, that it's a shorter period for their first rerun banner. It gives everyone a chance to get the character if they missed it the first time around. But then after that, so after her first rerun, so say 6 months from now, she gets her rerun. Okay. Well, if you still don't get her on that time around, because maybe you prioritize some other characters on the banner or something else, or maybe you just didn't get her and you got one of the standard banner 5 stars instead of the featured one. That also happens. Then, her banner would end again. And then it might be a year wait for her rerun banner to come back around again for her next time. So your best opportunity to get a character if you miss them on the debut banner is the rerun banner, because you most likely won't have to wait as long for them to come back. So that's what happened with Skirk. I missed her back in the summer, and it took about, I don't know, looks like 8 months or so, maybe 8 or 9 months or so from her debut banner, which was in summertime, until early spring when her rerun banner came back. So this was her first rerun banner, and I was lucky enough to get her this time. So a lot of times either a healer or a main DPS character, a main damage dealer like Skirk, will sort of be like a core of the team. At least for me, the healers are the core of the team. Some people don't even like to put healers on teams, so maybe my logic there is a little skewed. But, it's like if this team didn't have Skirk, it would still probably do okay on its own, because Furina can do good sub DPS damage, Escoffier can do good sub DPS damage, And Kokomi can, believe it or not, can actually technically be a main DPS character if you want her to be. She's not a super strong one, but she is able to do that. And as far as I can remember off the top of my head, I think she's the only really good healer character in the game that could also be a main DPS role. But anyway, so this team would actually do pretty okay, but others would not. They would be terrible without a good main DPS character to be your active main character on the field, dealing all the damage and sort of leading the team. Like, let me just show you some of my other teams as an example, because I'm sure I have ones that would not be good on their own without their main DPS. Let's see, who's a really good example of like character that would be just kind of useless, or a team that would be kind of useless without their main DPS. I mean, this one, Arlecchino's really strong too. She definitely does most of the damage. Emily can do pretty well too, though, as a sub DPS. I would almost say this one even. Mawika is super strong, but Shalonen and Sitlali are not. They're support characters, and they're really good on this particular team, but Mawika does the heavy lifting as far as the damage goes here. And that's one thing too, when you're new to the game, like for me, for example, let me just show you on here really quick. My first 5-star that I ever got was Jean. And that was actually really fortunate for me because she's a combination sub DPS character and a pretty good healer, actually. So she was really helpful. And for when I was really early to the game, she was my strongest character. Like, she was my main DPS, even though she can't really fit that role. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't really know how team compositions worked that would make sense. I didn't know there was a difference between, a main DPS and a sub DPS. I didn't know how all that stuff worked. And I also didn't know that you couldn't just make every character really strong and, necessarily in battles. So, but at the start, she was my, team leader basically. And it's not a bad way to go because she's not the worst choice for that. She does okay damage as a sub DPS and everything. So, but if you put the team together in a way that's not really structured right, you can have a really, like, your team might do okay, but it's so much slower than when you actually have a good, solid, structured team. Unfortunately, in the game itself, it doesn't really give you that kind of information in a clear way. Like, there's nothing that says, Jean is a sub DPS that's going to be good for off-field and healing, and you're going to want another character for your main damage dealer. Like, the game doesn't tell you that with any character. So you kind of, if you're playing the game a lot, you almost have to get to a point where you're looking up guides for it online, which is what I did. And it's because there's information about the game that's either hidden or cryptic or not incredibly obvious at the outset of how things are supposed to work, and then you could spend all this time like trying to build up Jean to make her into a strong character, and she's never going to be as good at dealing damage as Chaska is, because Chaska is a main DPS character. And Jean is not. So it's just one of those things where it's like, you can make a team of whatever you want. I've made all healer teams before, and they can be kind of fun, but they're also really slow compared to other teams as far as dealing damage. And the further you get in the game, the more the difficulty of the enemies increases. And so you'll just notice that gap more and more and more the further you get. So that's kind of a thing that's a little bit difficult to discern from within the game itself, like what the character's role is supposed to be, what they're going to be good at, what they're not going to be good at. The game tells you information about it, but it's not obvious. So, and even as you play as them, it might not be obvious. Like, some characters are more complicated to actually use in the correct way, and so it gets a little bit complex. So if you're enjoying the game and you're, getting further into it, first of all, I would say, use the characters that you get, obviously. But then from there, once you're comfortable with it, start looking into how to effectively use those specific characters, what they were designed for. And to do that, I would recommend checking out guides and things like that. So that's where I usually get most of my handle on what a character is supposed to do. And then, you don't have to follow it 100%. Like I said, you can do what you prefer. Even if, the whole wide world of the internet says, no, you're crazy, don't do that. Like, no, you can do it however you want. But like I said, I've made teams of all healers before, and that, while slow, you can do it. It's not like the game's preventing you from doing it. But and sometimes it's fun to just put teams of characters that you just enjoy. And it's like, I like to play as these four or whatever. So, but there are certain things that you can prioritize that are, that a character is designed for. And that's the thing. It's playing to the strength of what that character was meant to do. Because there's some that aren't meant for that. Like, no matter how much you try, you're not going to make it so, Diona, for example, you're not going to make it so she is a good damage dealer no matter what you do. She's not built that way. She's not designed for that. She can do a little bit of damage with her bursts, and she's a great support character with her shields and everything. They're really strong and protect your characters from damage, and she can help heal and all that. But no matter what artifacts you put on her, no matter what weapons you use, no matter how high you get her level, she'll never be a strong damage dealing character. It's just not what she was built to do. So the more you can understand that about the characters that you have, the better you can see where to place them and how to use them and things like that. So it becomes more clear. So let's see. I think that was our last commission, right? For the day we got. Okay, so we can see the daily commission quests are done. Now, when that happens, you'll get this little prompt here. And you can see on this book, this is I think it's the Adventurer's Handbook thing. Let me see what it's actually called in here. Yeah, Adventurer Handbook. So if we go to that, it just kind of tells us, okay, we completed the daily stuff. And we can see this little exclamation mark that tells you, like, hey, you've done this thing. And it's trying to get your attention to let you know there's something else that you should do with this. And so you can see on the bottom, when I pressed A to go into this commissions tab, it says press Y to claim rewards. So I'll do that. And when you do this, it teleports you to the nearest major towns or cities Adventurers Guild. So it says teleport to Leeway Harbor. So it just jumps you right over to that. And basically, all it's trying to get you to do here is claim the last of your daily commission rewards. I have no idea why they set it up in this two-step process where you have to actually go talk to the character at the Adventurers Guild, Catherine, to actually claim your daily rewards. I don't know why they don't just make it so as soon as you complete the quest, you get all your rewards and that's that. But they didn't. They made it like this. So we'll talk to Catherine here. And she's a very familiar character that you'll see throughout the adventure. And so when you've done your 4 daily commissions, it says claim daily commission reward. So we just talk to her and we do this. It says thank you for that. And then so this is the last part of the rewards for your daily commission. So, and we can see we get some more premium gems and things like that. So now we've officially done the 4 daily commissions. And so every day, that's what you would do. You would come to do, whoops, I keep hitting the wrong button. Sorry, there we go. So every day, if you're just going to, like, these are called completing your dailies, basically, completing your daily commissions. So each day in the game, it kind of encourages you to do that because that's how you're going to be able to get enough Prima Gems to actually, get a decent amount. Like between that and the, if you get the Blessing of the Welcome Moon, like I was talking about before, between those two, you almost get, it's like really close to enough Prima Gems for 1 fate per day. If you get the 90, and I think it's like 60 for the daily commissions, if I remember right. So that puts you at 150 per day, and it takes 160 Primogems to get 1 fate. So it's really, really close between just getting the blessing login bonus and the daily commissions. And if you obviously I took a lot longer in the video to do those, but you can usually do them in like, 15 minutes, I'll say, maybe 20 the most if it's a longer one or whatever. So log into the game, play for 15, 20 minutes a day, complete your commissions, log back off, and that's your daily task for the day. That's the kind of thing that Genshin tries to encourage players to do every day. Like that's the carrot for the stick, I guess you could say. That daily that they have you log in and they want you to play the game each day and they give you rewards for doing it. So, and here we can see on the battle pass we've got another thing that says claim daily commission rewards 4 times. So they give you extra experience for that too. So that's the daily commission stuff, and that's all there is to that. Let's see. I was going to show maybe either the Spiral Abyss or the Imaginary Theater, possibly. But let's see. I also, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, resin. So let me show you the resin stuff. I talked about that in the first video. But before that, let me just put in a reminder here because it's totally slipped my mind. Are you breathing right now? And if you are, how can you tell that you're breathing? How can you check? You'll have to feel it. You'll have to feel it in your body. And hopefully you've been remembering to do this. Even while I've been rambling on and on and on, because I obviously get on a bit of a tangent here with this stuff, and my brain goes off and starts thinking about everything as I'm trying to comment on the video. But while I'm doing that, you can just focus on your breathing while you're watching or listening along or whatever. So if you feel your breath, it slows your brain down. And it feels good too. It was like, hey, I feel like I'm alive. This is pretty cool. And, probably nobody has told you to do that, to actually feel your breath. Notice your breath. Nobody is like, oh, who cares? And, nobody taught me, and I'm, middle age at this point. So nobody's, taught me this stuff until, I think I want to say like my late 20s, early 30s is when I first started getting into any of this kind of stuff, taking an interest in it, finding out about it. So, but if more people were taught this at a younger age, then maybe it would help them out through their life. Maybe you would just have a little trick in your back pocket, like, hey, I'm just going to focus on my breath and breathe and feel the, relief that comes with that. And hey, look, I'm alive. I've noticed I'm alive. How do I know? Well, I can feel the air going in and out of my body. And then it takes a lot of mental noise and just quiets it down. So, I find it very helpful. And the more I do it, the better I feel. So I wanted to pass this thing on to you guys because it's something that I've learned from others. And if you want to learn more about the meditation stuff, because there's a lot more than what I just know to show you and share with you. And there's links in the description for that if you're curious to learn a whole bunch more stuff from the people that I learned it from, basically. And so there's a lot more to it than what I can share reliably, but I'd like to just pick the simplest things that are super easy that anyone can just do immediately. So the best one, in my opinion, is the breath awareness, because it's so simple. There's nothing really to it. So, and you can do it anytime that you think about it, anytime you remember to do it. It can be done. So here we've got some resin. Now, in the last video, I think I was at 129 or something like that, if I remember right. So what I did off camera after that is I converted my resin, and I talked about that a little bit. You can see I have 2 up there on the to the left of the resin icon there. So that means I have 2 converted resin. So it costs 60 of the original daily resin to create 1 condensed resin. And so it's kind of like a storage method. So basically what that means is I took 120 of the resin for the day that I had, the original resin, when I recorded the first video, and I stored it in these 2 condensed resin items. So So what that did was lowered my, original resin down to, I think it was like 9 or whatever was left, 9 resin. And so over time, in the time since I've played the previous time and now, I'm back up to 189 of the original resin. So it's refilled most of the way during that time. And now I can also use basically the 2 from the previous time that I was playing, the condensed resin that I created. So condensed resin, the only downside with that is that there's some things that you can't use it on. So, for example, world bosses, you cannot use it on them. You have to use the original resin only on them. And I'm trying to remember what the other thing, I thought there was like 2, I can't remember what the other one was, where it doesn't let you use condensed resin. But for a lot of other things that you do need resin for, you're able to use the condensed as well. So it's just, you can just think of it as a storage method. Unfortunately though, the most condensed resin that you can hold at one time is 5. That's the limit right now in the game. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I would love to see them raise the caps on both of those things. At least make it so you could, store more daily resin, even if you haven't played for like 2 or 3 days. Like instead of having 200 be the original resin cap, make it be like 400 or 500 or something like that. That would be great, so that it keeps refilling on its own, even if you're not playing for a longer period. But if nothing else, I would like to see them at least raise the cap on the condensed resin, bring it to 10 or something, so you can store more days worth of resin if you're not able to play and you just want to log in really quick. And so to actually condense your resin, it's actually here in Liyue. Let me just briefly show you. It probably won't show up anymore because I've already done it, but I'll just show you the gist of what you have to do. So this is a whole thing I won't get into right now, but there's reputation quests, and you see this character with this triangle icon over them. This is Ministry of Self-Care. So let me talk to this character here really quick. So each region of the game has one character like this, and it'll say, how's my reputation in whatever the name of the area is. So Liyue in general. So there'll be one for Mondstadt, there'll be one for Fontaine, for Inazuma, Sumeru, etc. So if you go in here, let me see if it lets. So these are tasks that you can do. They're weekly, you can see weekly bounties, weekly requests, and then they've got these here to show you how much of that region you've explored in total, and then how many quests overall that you've completed from that location. So let me see. And if I go to the reputation rewards here, you can see it on the left, on the bottom left says reputation reward with the Y button. So I'm already at max level. Okay, I still can look at this, I guess it looks like. So I'm already at max level. So as you complete these weekly bounties and weekly requests, and you do the quests that you find in and around Liyue, in this particular case, you'll start at level 1, and then as you do that, you'll increase your level gradually until the max is level 8. And so as you go through here, you can see each level has its own rewards and features that are unlocked. And so it says feature unlocked, Liyue mining outcrop search, and let me see what this one was. The Geoculus resonant stone. Okay, so that's a crafting blueprint. So that's not the one I was thinking of. Let's see about this one. Yeah, condensed resin. Here it is. So you have to get your Liyue reputation to level 3 to be able to unlock the ability to even make condensed resin, which I'm not a big fan of that. I think this should have been something that was just automatically unlocked once you reach a certain level of progress in the game, without having to tie it to this reputation system, because not every player even knows that this exists, or it's a very easy feature to forget about from week to week, because it's like you can really only do it once a week for these little bounties and stuff. And so anyway, but this is how it is. So you need to go to Liyue in particular and complete enough stuff to raise your reputation to level 3 there. And that might take a couple weeks of real time, because you can only progress these a little bit. But once you reach level 3, you can unlock the ability to craft these condensed resin. And so here it is. says you can hold no more than 5 at a time. And so it gives you some lore about it. And so to actually create these, once you've got that recipe learned, the crafting recipe unlocked. So once you've gotten leeway reputation to level 3, then you go back to the crafting table. And there's one of these in every region as well. Usually in the main hub towns and stuff like that. You can see the crafting one is right here for this one. And there's a whole alchemy system in the game, and it'll tell you about that as you make progress. But we can see here condensed resin. So, and so we've got all this here. So it says crafting materials. You can see at the bottom, it shows you what you need to craft one of these. It automatically goes to the requirements to craft all 3 because I have enough to do that. So if I wanted to, I could use 180 of my daily resin right now, and I'd be left with 10. And that would create 3 condensed resin, and I've already got 2, so that would put me at the max. So that's pretty much what you do. So if you just wanted to log in real quick and you didn't have time to, really play that much for that day or whatever, but you didn't want to lose you out on your resin, you would come in here, do this. You can craft 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever you have. And that would be a way to store up your daily resin. So I could, like I said, it costs 60. You can see it takes 60 original resin. That's the crescent moon shaped one at the bottom down there. Per one of these that you want to make. So that's basically what you would do. So if I wanted to store today's resin and I didn't want to, like if I was going to not play and I didn't have time, I would just craft 3 of these, and then I would be at the max for 5. And so that would put the resin back down to 10, so which means for tomorrow, it would, be for the next, 20, however many hours it would be, the daily resin would still restore up until it reaches the 200 limit. Now, in that case, I would already be at max condensed resin because I would have created 5 total, 2 from the last time I played and 3 from this one, so that would be 5. And, the daily resin would fill up to 200 and then it would stop. So that would be the limit. That's as much as you can hold. And so if I went 3 days after that and didn't play, then I would be losing out on all that resin that I could have been using for those 3 days because it's already stopped at 200. So that's what's kind of frustrating about it. But like I said, I wish they would extend that limit to where it's more than just, like 2 or 3 days that you can store up. So that way people that don't have a lot of time to play, like maybe you can only play on the weekends or something or, whatever. But you're not going to be able to make the most of the system that way without at least logging in and playing a little bit to use up some of your resin. So let's look at some ways that we can do that using resin. I don't think I've discussed that yet. So you can see here we've got all these little diamond icons with like a little blue diamond in the middle of them. So these are all different little domains that you can enter. It's kind of like dungeons, you can think of them, something like that. Now some of these are specifically for certain things. Like this one right here is for weapon enhancement materials, and this one over here is for artifacts. So you can get specific types of items in each area. So there'll be a specific artifact set that you can get from this blessing. Sorry, I read the word blessing. You can get specific artifact sets from this domain. And there's 2 different kinds. Usually it's 2 different main artifacts. So this one, let's see which ones they are. So they're the Tenacity of the Millilith artifact set and the Pale Flame artifact set. So those are the 2 main ones that you'll get from this this particular domain here. So certain characters will want to use these artifacts for their for their builds to equip them and give them the optimal set of boosts and things like that. So to get those, you're going to have to go to this domain. I'll just show you this one, for example. We'll just teleport right to it. And these domains, once you unlock them by interacting with them, it's just like a teleport waypoint. So it starts off red, and then when you first go to it, it turns blue. And then once you've done that, you can teleport to it, just like a waypoint. So it's another way you can use a teleport waypoint. Basically, if there's not one around that area, you can do it by the domain too. So we'll just go in here. I'll show you what this domain is like. And these are almost always combat oriented. And now you can see it says challenge features, and you can see there's that little symbol to the right of where it says challenge features. That's the geo element symbol. So here's a better example. So I was gonna say each domain has recommended elements. So if you don't have, it doesn't mean you can't complete this if you don't have the right element for it, but it's just trying to tell you like this is going to be the best kind of element to use for this particular challenge. So here we've got the hydro and cryo and geo element symbol. So if I did this at level 80, which is a little bit lower level, my team would actually be better suited as far as the elements are concerned. But again, you don't have to do just the recommended ones. It's okay if you don't have them. So, and then it says challenge features. It's trying to give you some other tips. It says use characters who can provide shields or trigger their crystallized reaction to deal greater damage through the ley line disorder. So here, this particular one is about shields and then crystallized reaction. Crystallize is hydro and geo combined. So I'm going to actually do this one. And you'll notice on the bottom right, there's a couple of options there. You can press the B button to go back. A button is to start it, but there's also this one that says match with the X button. So that's basically, I could invite other random players to help me out with this if I was struggling to complete it on my own. So it gets into a little bit of the co-op capabilities of the game whenever you see anything that says match like that. So if I wanted to, I can just do match and hop online with other players, and we could all try to, complete this objective together with other players. So, and that usually makes things easier. It just depends, though. It depends on what characters the other players are using, because you can get a poorly coordinated team, I guess you could say. Like, you could get characters that don't coordinate very well with each other all on the same team, and so it could be a bit of a struggle, because when you do that and you add multiple players in co-op, the difficulty of the opponents also raises to balance it out. So it just depends. One like this though, artifact. This is an artifact domain, by the way. There's different kinds. Like I said, there's one for weapon materials, and there's other ones for, some are story related too. They're just for, little side story stuff. But these ones are artifacts. But these do not tend to be like super difficult most of the time. So it's not something where I would need to really call in, helpers usually. So I'm just going to hit start. Now, right away, it takes you to your selections of teams and parties and stuff. So since this one wanted mostly geo, I'm actually going to switch to this team here. This is a team that focuses on lunar crystallize, and so they were talking about the crystallized reaction. So this is 2 hydro characters and 2 geo characters in it. So you can go ahead and do this with the left and right shoulder buttons. Just toggle between your available teams that you already have. If I wanted to make a different team, I could just do that here. And we can see on the bottom right there, it says current party level is lower than recommended. This is because I chose the level 90 difficulty version. Let me go back actually, because that's one thing I meant to discuss and I didn't. You can see that if I go down to lower levels of difficulty. So this one, a level 59. So when you're a newer player, you might not be able to access all these yet, because it'll say like you have to have a level, 40 party to be able to even access this, and your characters might not be strong enough yet. So there'll be a point where you may not be able to do all these, even if you can get to them. But you can see there the possible rewards. Now, as I go up in higher difficulties, like 80 and 90, you'll see it goes from, you'll remember from the first video, that blue items are 3 stars, purple items are 4 stars, and so that also applies to artifacts. But if I go to the 80s, then we get the orange back ones, and so those are 5-star artifacts. So basically, to put it simply, the higher the rarity of the artifact, the more levels you can raise it. So the stronger it can get, and it'll also tend to have more abilities on it as well. So to boost your character's stats, they'll have more stats on it that it boosts. So in the long run, you're going to want all 5-star artifacts if you can for your characters. But as you're progressing through the game, if you're not at the, caught up with everything at the higher levels and stuff yet, then you want to focus on the 4 stars. Those are your first focus. Getting a good set of 4-star artifacts for your right artifact set. Like if you were looking for the tenacity set, you can see the purple here is the 4-star one. So getting a good set of this is good. And sometimes even, like I've even had cases where some of my characters are still using 4-star artifacts just because I couldn't get the right stats that I'm looking for in the 5-star yet. So it just hasn't happened. So, but I would say generally though, in the long term, you're going to want to aim for these 5-star ones. And to do that, you have to at least get to the higher difficulty levels. So like level 80 difficulty, you can see the orange ones are there. So you could possibly get orange ones from that, 5-star ones from that. Obviously, though, if you go to the highest one here, like my party is level 90 for most of them, so it's more lucrative to do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm just going to switch to this other team that I showed you before briefly. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit the X button to start it. And now it takes it a second because it's changing your active party to this other one. So it takes the game a second to do that. And so here it says Leyline Disorder. So this just gives you a general overview of what this artifact domain's specific features are. It says a backlash will occur when opponents hit a character protected by a shield, unleashing a shockwave originating at the attacking opponent's position that deals 1 instance of AoE damage, can occur once every 2 seconds. So these are not super important usually, but I didn't bring a shield. I'm just realizing I didn't bring a shield team in this one, so this probably won't even apply at all, but that's okay. And like I said, you don't even have to bring the recommended elements if you don't want. It's not going to be the end of the world in most of these things, but it can really help. Some of them can be really challenging if you don't have the right elements, and so that could make the difference between being able to complete it easily or not, just because you brought the recommended elements characters. So it just depends. So this is Navia, and she is a main DPS character. She's a Claymore user. She has a 2-handed sword, except most of her attacks revolve around her umbrella, and she uses a gun, and it's a gunbrella actually. So you can see here she kind of charges it up, and you can fire it off. It's kind of weird. There's characters like that where it's like the base weapon is one thing, but their actual weapon they use is something totally different. But she's a pretty good main TPS character. And then we have Columbina. She's a very recent one at the time of recording. She does a lot of stuff related to lunar reactions. She's kind of like the core character for lunar reactions. She can create lunar crystallize and the other ones as well. Lunar charge and lunar bloom, depending on what her teammates are. In this case, it's lunar crystallize though, because it's got this team has got Geo and Hydro elements in it. So Igua, he's there. He's good for lunar crystallize, boosting the damage of all that as well. And then Siegewein is, in my opinion at least, in my experience, I would say, the strongest healer character in the game as far as how potent her healing ability is. She doesn't do a ton of damage on her own necessarily. Her burst actually does some okay damage. So she's not a character where you're going to be dealing a lot of damage, but she's super easy to heal your entire team, and her heals are very strong. So she's great. She's one of my favorites just because of how comfortable her healing capabilities are. So anyway, about that here. So Navia, you can see her normal attacks do physical damage, but then when I use her elemental skill, she fires off her little gunbrella, and then after that for a little bit, now you can see her normal attacks are all doing yellow numbers, which is the geo damage. So For a brief period after you use that skill, she does geo damage with her normal attack. So what you want to do with her is basically like I'm doing here, use her skill and then do some normal attacks after that. When her burst is ready, she does this and just kind of launches off these rock cannonball things, and they will just automatically target enemies. Even if she goes off field, it'll still target. You can see they're still just kind of launching and hitting nearby enemies. Now Columbina, her skill does a little area of attack thing, and it sort of repeats. You can see it kind of like pulsing out the little blue, sparkly, not the smaller one that's on her. I don't know what that is. That's some kind of other effect going on from these guys, but it just kind of pulses out every once in a while. And every time it does that, it does hydro damage. And her burst does this, and it makes a much bigger area and kind of the same idea. So you can see this huge circle area here is all her area of effect from her burst. So it does a lot. And then Ilua, he does a sort of quick fire shot with his skill. And then this also creates these little lunar, I forget what they're called, these little moon-shaped things. And that's for the lunar crystallized reaction that will show up when Hydro and Geo combine. So you can see Columbina took some damage there. Now I'll just go to Siege Rain real quick. And she is like super simple. All I have to do is tap her elemental skill button, the right trigger. And she does this little bouncy thing, a little bouncy bubble. Now you can see Columbina's health is refilling just every time that little bubble bounces. So that's all you have to do with Siege Rain, and she can just keep doing that over and over. And what's really cool about it, not only does it work off field, so like I can switch to another character when I'm doing that. See, I'll switch back to Navia. And so it's still healing. It's still healing Columbina. So Columbina is all the way healed up now. Not only does it work like that, but she doesn't have to do anything special. Like you can just press that. Every time her little elemental skill is ready, you just do it again. And it's healing every single character in the team whenever that bubble bounces and on the ground or hits an enemy, whatever it does. It's healing everything except for Siege Rain herself. Her healing comes at the very end. So when the bubble stops bouncing, it bounces, I think, 5 times or something by default. So when that stops happening, then Siege Rain gets healed. So all the rest of her teammates, though, are constantly getting healed with every bounce. So that's all you have to do to heal your whole team. It's super strong, super easy. And you don't have to wait for her burst to come back or anything like that. So she's, in my opinion, the best healer in the game. Still, at this point, they still haven't made one that's better than her, I don't think. As far as how strong her, how easy it is for her to heal her teammates and how effective her healing is. Now, if you hold the button down a little bit longer, you can see she kind of floats there for a second. Now, this one lasts about the same, but it also has another ability where it kind of like freezes enemies in place. The smaller enemies, if it catches them in this little bubble. But that does even stronger healing than her normal tap version, what I've been doing in that battle. So if you've got a couple seconds that you can hold down the trigger, the right trigger for her skill, then she'll heal even more effectively than she already does. So now we defeated the enemies for the challenge, and now we've got this screen that shows up. Now these are different ways we can use resin or resin related items to claim rewards. So you can see it says use 40 original resin to claim 2 times rewards. So if I hit the X button there, it'll just go down to 20 original resin. So I can swap between which one I want to do. This is sort of a new feature. It used to only be able to do 20 original resin. There wasn't an option to use 40, but now they've sort of said, okay, well, we'll let you use even more. That way you don't have to spend so much time on these domains or whatever. So if you're down to like 20 resin left, this will be the only one you can use to claim your rewards. And then you'll just get one instance of the rewards, but it's much better to do this one if you have the resin and you're planning to use it. But it also gives you these other options here. It says use 1 condensed resin to claim 3 times the rewards. So you'll remember I said that it costs 60 resin, or we saw it actually too. I didn't just say it. We saw it in the crafting bench that it costs 60 original resin to create 1 condensed resin. So based off of this, it costs 20 original resin to claim 1 reward. So 3 times that would be 60 resin. So that's how that works. That's how that factors in. That's where they got the numbers to figure that out. So you could do either one here. You could either use a condensed resin or you can use original resin. I'm going to go ahead and use the original resin right now to claim the rewards. But there's another option down here. It says use Prima Gems times 50 to claim 3 times the rewards. Can be used 6 times today. So I do not recommend ever doing this. For me, the way that I approach this game is like Prima Gems, the only thing worth using those for is intertwined fates so you can make more wishes on the banners. Like that, save them all just for that, because that, to me anyway, that's the most worthwhile thing to do with them. Everything else feels like a waste of, your Prima Gems, because, for example, this 50 right here, that's almost what we got just from completing the 4 daily commissions. You get 60, I believe it is, just from doing that. So you would basically not waste. It's not a waste, but you would basically use your 50 Prima Gems that you got that day, almost all of your daily commission stuff, just so you can do 1 condensed resin worth of rewards. So to me, it doesn't feel worth it at all. I would much rather use those Prima Gems of those very precious resources to create more intertwined fates. Like give me another fate, give me another wish on the banners, give me another chance at getting a character, or whatever. So, and the game gives you other things that you can do with Prima Gems if you want, but I really strongly recommend to just use all of them on getting fates, and don't even bother with trying to do stuff with the other ways to spend Prima Gems. I just, to me, none of them are worth it compared to getting more wishes on the banners. So I ignore this feature and anything else that asks me, like, you can use Prima Gems to do blah blah blah. Like, no thanks. I'm going to use my Prima Gems on fates, thank you very much. So that's what I tend to do. But I mean, it's the option is available for people that if you really want to use them that way, you can. And I can say once or twice I have used Prima Gems on things like, I remember the first time I got the battle pass up to almost level 50. You can actually use Prima Gems to buy battle pass levels. I think I was up to like 47 or something like that, and it was the furthest I'd gotten, and I was like, oh man, I almost made it, but I was going to run out of time, and I wasn't going to, because I was at the end of the battle pass period or whatever. And it was a time where I had purchased the Gnostic Hymn upgrade where I paid the $10 to get all the extra bonuses. So that was a case where I actually spent some Prima Gems to get those last couple of levels. And it ended up being a net positive, because when you get level 50 on the battle pass and you have the Gnostic Hymn upgrade, it actually gives you, I think it's like 680 Prima Gems or something like that. It's close. It's either like 6 or 7 fates, or maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe that was total on the whole battle pass. Anyways, whatever. I spent less than I ended up getting back for it, is what I'm trying to say. So it was still a net positive. So I still got like 2 or 3 fates for the Prima Gems, even though I had to spend some to reach that 50. But I only did that, I think I only did that one time, because after that, it just didn't feel worth it. And, and I also had gotten up to level 50 naturally without having to spend the Prima Gems, whatever. Anyways, I'm going on a long time about this, but so there could be situations like that where it might feel worth it to you, but to me, I just save them all for fates. So I just focus here and here, condensed resin and or original resin. Now, the only time you would want to save your original resin is if you had bosses or things like that you wanted to still do. Like if you wanted to get some artifacts and then also get some boss materials, you may want to focus on using condensed resin and not using original resin, because bosses do not let you do anything other than original resin. So unfortunately, they don't have all these options here. But I'm just going to go ahead and use the original resin here and the 2 times. So when you use the 2 times option, like I just did, that's basically the equivalent of doing 2 of these artifact battles in the artifact domain here. So And we can see we got a couple of 5-star artifacts. So if you right click, if you click the right stick in, just like it was a button, you can see it says RS with the down arrow, trying to tell you, like, press on the right stick like it's a button to see the details. And then you can see the individual stats of each artifact that you got here. So these are all random, what you'll actually get. It'll be from one of those 2 sets for the 5-star ones. And so we can see this is a sands piece. We haven't looked at artifacts too much yet, but I'll do that a little bit here just to show you. So the main stat of this artifact is attack. And as you can see, it's 7% attack. So this is attack. It's called attack percent is the main stat. So this, if you had a character that needed their attack percent up high, like if that was one of their main stats to focus on. And again, this kind of information you're probably going to want to build guide online. Look up your character specifically and say, okay, what are the stats to focus on for them? What's important here? And so, but if they needed an attack percent sands artifact piece, then this would fill it for that. And we can see, in addition to the main stat, there's a bunch of other stats below that. It says crit rate plus 3.5%, defense plus 16, attack plus 16, and HP plus 239, and it says unactivated. So all that unactivated means is that that HP plus 239 stat boost will unlock as you level up this artifact. So. But right now it's not ready yet. It has to reach level 4 and then it will unlock. So those 4 things there, the crit rate, defense, attack, and HP, those are also random. It's random what ones you'll get, and those are the substats for the artifact. So you've got the main stat, which is the one that will boost the highest. So if I leveled this artifact, it's at level 1 or whatever it is right now. And so if I leveled this up higher, the maximum level that a 5-star artifact can reach is level 20. So if I did that, the attack percent stat would be a lot higher than what it starts out now. I don't know what it tops out at. It's probably something like 40% or something like that, instead of just the 7% that it has right now. But whatever their main stat is the one that will go the highest when you level it. So if that's a character's priority, if they really want attack percent for one of their stats, for their main stats, then that's what's going to go up the highest. The substats may or may not increase. This is also random. So every 4 levels, it either unlocks an unactivated stat if that happens. So when you get this one to level 4, it would unlock the HP plus 239 stat. And after that, all 4 of the substats will be unlocked, and that's all you have that you'll get on this piece of gear. So for every 4 levels after that, 1 random substat will also increase in its potency. So, but you don't know which it's going to be. So this is all randomized. And so you just kind of have to level, like, the main thing you want to do is look for substats that are good for your character. That's the main thing. Like, main stat has to be good for your character. That's the first priority. Even if all your substats are not good at all for that character, as long as the main stat is good, then it will be helpful. But ideally, you could have both. You could have attack percent, main stat, and maybe your character wants crit rate and crit damage or something. Well, this one only has crit rate, so it might not be the best possible, but it's not the worst either. So, and this is where artifact domain runs, or, this is something you could spend, one afternoon doing and get everything that you need for your character, or you could spend weeks trying to get the right main stat and substat combinations and still not have it show up. So it's all just random. So you don't ever know what you're going to get. So here we have the same kind of artifact. So it's from the same set. It's the Tenacity of the Millilith artifact set. But this one's main stat is defense. So if you had a character that focused more on that, then this might be a better choice. And we can see there's some different substats here as well. Crit damage, attack, HP percent instead of flat HP, and elemental mastery is another one. And so below that, you can see what the set bonuses are. So any piece of artifact any artifacts that you equip from this particular set, Tenacity of the Millilith, will have these bonuses. So the 2-piece set means that will activate when your character is wearing 2 artifacts of this set. So if they're wearing, I'll just say the Sands and maybe the Goblet or something, and we'll talk about the different artifact pieces in a little bit here, but if they're equipping 2 different ones of the same set, basically, then they will get a bonus HP 20% to their stats. So as long as they're wearing 2 of the same artifact set at the same time, then they get that bonus. If they're wearing 4, then they get the additional bonus below that, which in this case it says when an elemental skill hits an opponent, the attack of all nearby party members is increased by 20%, and their shield strength is increased by 30% for 3 seconds. So some of those get really wordy and lengthy and complicated, and it's, some of them are hard to understand what they're actually doing. But basically, if your character equips 4 pieces from this artifact set, then they get both bonuses, the 2-piece one and the 4-piece one, which not only boosts their own HP percent with the 2-piece, but whenever that character uses elemental skill, then all your characters will get a temporary attack bonus, and their shield strength will become stronger as well. So if you have any shielder characters on the team, that will boost their shield strength. And any characters that need more attack percent, they will benefit from that as well. And so these are passive effects that just happen according to whatever the rules are for that artifact set, as long as a character is equipping, 2 pieces of them or 4 pieces of them. So characters can hold 5 artifacts total. There's 5 slots. So you can sometimes, let me see if we can see the rest. So here's another one, the circlet. So that's another piece that they can wear. And you can see the difference between the the 4 stars and the 5 stars. There's not as many, well, this is the different set. This is the Braveheart artifact set, but there's not as many substats, and also the level of a 4-star artifact can only go up to 16 instead of 20. So they're not as strong as the 5 stars, obviously, but they still can give you the 2-piece and 4-piece bonuses if you equip them all from the same set. So, but since you only have to ever equip 4 to get the boost, all the bonuses and stuff, it gives you 1 slot per character that can be sort of like a flex slot. So that's pretty common to. Here's another one from the Tenacity set. We can just see that, right, guys? So there's a plume. That's another piece that they can wear. So, and you can see it's like just, not that many substats on it. There's only 2 instead of, the full 4 or whatever. So, but you could do this. You could equip the plume of this one, and it gives a defense boost and an attack boost. And you could equip the sand slot with this one on any character that you have, and then they would get the 2-piece set bonus for HP plus 20%. That's how that would work. So let me just go back out of here, just to show you how that goes. And I'll just show you, let's see, let me see. I'm trying to see if I can remember a character that's got that exact artifact set on. I know I've got some. Maybe, I don't think Diona has it. I think she's got a different one. Let's see, Emily does not have that one. But here we can see different artifacts here, and I'll just kind of gloss through this. So here's one of my characters that I still have 4-star artifacts on. You can see because they're purple. So they're maxed out, but I don't have good 5-star artifacts for this particular set for that this character needs. Ayato here. That's not the Tenacity set either. Here we go. Layla has it. Okay. So she's got some. So we can see it's green, activate on the right side. This is set bonus, and that's got those little green check marks next to it. So she's actually got them all, she's got at least 4 pieces equipped from that set. So that's how we know here. So if you press A to confirm on here, and we can see at the top left, there's all these different options. So if I use the shoulder buttons, you can cycle through. And it's just kind of trade. So this one is the sands piece. This one's for the goblet and the circlet. And then we also have the flower and as well as the plume. So those are the 5 types of artifacts, 5 slots, if you will, to equip artifacts. So, and certain kinds will have certain abilities on them, like energy recharge, for example, is the main stat for her. And you can see some of them have, this is sort of a recent addition, not super recent, but it's newer. You can see how they have like energy recharge around it. It has that like white box that's sort of highlighting it. And there's also one around the crit damage stat. So that's little hints for you to know that the game developers put that in there just to try to call out for that particular character stats that are going to be extra beneficial. So that wasn't something they had in there forever. And so you just kind of had to figure it out by looking at build guides and seeing what other people were doing. But now, even if you don't have any of that information, you can kind of just see just by looking at that, like, hey, this is, HP percent is something good for her to have. And, crit rate and stuff like that. So you can see which ones might be beneficial for that character to use. But it really just depends, because it's going to depend on how you want to build them too. Some characters have multiple viable ways to build them. For example, Furina, we talked about before. She could be either a healer focus or a sub DPS focus. And so some of those stats that it recommends might be for her sub DPS focus, but if you're building her as a healer, they might not be a good choice to focus on for her. So there is some variance there, and in-game setups don't really, these little tips that the game tells you, like, hey, pick energy recharge and crit damage or whatever, like, that may not account for those kinds of variations. So you can't rely on it 100% if you're, looking to build a character a specific way. But it's a good starting point, if nothing else. So I was going to see, was any of these not in the... no, okay, these are all tenacity. Okay. I thought maybe one of the other pieces was not, but there were other characters that I could show you. So this one, for example, Noelle, she's got Husk of Opulent Dreams. That's her main artifact set. I focus on boosting her defense. But you can see this last one looks a little different. This one here. So these pieces are all from the right set, but this one is from a different set called Unfinished Reverie. So what happened with this was that you can see the main stat for this goblet piece is geo damage bonus. So sometimes when you're doing a particular, artifact set, you're trying to get all the ones that you want and everything like that for the main stats. But sometimes no matter what you do, you're just not getting the right combination that you're trying to get. So, you might be looking for like, man, I really need this defense percent stat. Well, in this case, for the Husk of Opulent Dreams set, as I was trying to get a whole bunch of pieces of that to get put on Noelle, for the life of me, I couldn't get one that has a geo damage bonus main stat, but also has, the defense percent stat or whatever that I was looking for the substats. So sometimes that will happen. And so since you only have to equip 4 pieces to get the full set bonus for a particular set, like I was saying before, it leaves you that one flex slot that you can put in a piece from a different set that has the stats that you're looking for. In this case, geo damage bonus with a defense percent bonus for the substats. That was what I was looking for, even though it's not in the same artifact set as what I'm trying to collect. She still had one spare slot that I could substitute from a different set just to focus on the stats that I needed for her to maximize her, her damage capabilities and all that. So you can do that as well. You have a flexible 5th slot if you need it, depending on what artifacts you've collected for that character already from the set that they need. So anyways, that was a lot of explanation. Hopefully you guys are following this okay. You're remembering to breathe. That's the main thing. Remembering to focus on your breathing, even though I'm rambling on and on and on. So each character, like I said, when you're lower level, you're going to want to work on the 4-star artifacts, like we can see some here. I never got the better ones for Ayato, unfortunately, but, and then, so, your aim will be for the 4-star artifacts. That's a good place to start. And, you can get some decent stats, and you can see they go up to 16. And then once, as you get further, gradually, slowly start replacing the 4-star ones with 5-star artifacts on the higher difficulty levels, because those are going to be the most helpful in the long run. So, And some characters you might have a mix where you don't ever get all their 5 stars, but you got some 4 stars, whatever. So one more thing while we're in here looking at these domains that I wanted to just go over really quick is this feature here called the training guide. This is also a somewhat relatively new, I'll say relatively new, feature. And we can see here, this is based on the world level that you're at, your characters are at. So like the more you raise the world level, the stronger enemies will get, but the stronger your characters can get too. So, and so we can see Igloo here is a little bit weaker than my other characters because he's newer. I just got him very recently. He's only level 80, and the rest of my teammates are level 90 on this team. Now, this is adventure power, relatively strong, but there's room for improvement. So if we go here and we go to our enhance, I just want to see what it says. So you can look at any character that you have acquired here, and it gives you some ideas of what's going on with it. So Igloo here, it says character level 80. It says insufficient essential materials. So if you're trying to level him up, this is a quick way to know what's going on. So you can see on the top it says add to level up plan if you press the Y button. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. And then you can see it says level 80, and then it gives you some prompts like, okay, what do you want to do? So you hit A to confirm on that character, and then you can go in here. And this is a really helpful way to know what you would need to focus on to get your characters powered up like you would like to. So you can say, I want to level him up to level 80. Well, target's already reached. He's already at level 80. You're good. But if your goal is to level him up to level 90, then you're going to need more of all these items right here. So you can do that at any point. Like let me take him off of there real quick just to show you. I can go down here to, I'll just pick Kaya. Yeah, let's pick him. So let's add him to level up plan. So this will be a little bit easier to show you. We select him because he's a lower level character. So we can say, he's already level 50, but if I want to get him to level 60, he needs 4 more of these items that are dropped by level 30 plus Cryo Ridgevines bosses. So, but if I want to get him to level 60, then he needs 12. If I want to get him to level 70, he needs 12. If I want to get him to level 80, he needs 24 of them, and also 4 more of these, whatever these are, Shivada Jade Chunks. So, and you can use the right stick to press it in like a button to pull up this little item description if you don't know what anything is and you want to know where it's at, whatever. You can check everything like that. So that's how you kind of do this. Like, okay, my goal is to get him to level 90. Well, I'm going to need all this stuff. So by adding him to the level up plan, you can see it says leveling up at the top. So now the game will actually tell me when I reach these milestones. It'll say for example, there's 5 here. It'll say maybe you get 1 more of those, and it'll say oh, you need 3 left or whatever. So it'll actually kind of remind you as you're playing, hey, you collected something for a character you were interested in leveling up, and now you need 10 more or whatever you need. And then when you complete that, so when I got all 9 of these, for example, it would say objective, leveling objective is ready, or the materials are ready. It says something like that, where it'll tell you that you've collected enough of that resource, so you don't need to worry about collecting more to level this character up. So, and we can do that also for if you use the left and right shoulder buttons. We can also use that for weapons. So we can say enhance current weapon. So this is the weapon that he has equipped. And you can, again, set it to, well, I want his weapon up to level 60. Okay, well, you can see, it's you can already get it there. Can ascend, which means you can level his weapon up already with the materials that I've got. And if I want to get it to 70, then I'm missing some materials. It says insufficient materials, and then we need some more of these, 2 more of these. And it'll say dropped by level 40. So if I needed 2 more of those, I could hit A to choose go on it, and it would actually pull this up. And I could click, and you can see it says required character, so it shows you the character you're tracking, okay, Kaya needs these. And then you can press A to navigate, and then it will actually pull them up, and you can see where I need to go to get more of those. So it's pretty useful, this whole system that they have, this whole training guide system. You can really, a lot of this information used to be kind of manual. Like there was no tracking system, there was no, thing to tell you, hey, you need 3 more of those to read. So you just kind of had to check on this stuff manually, like by going into each thing and, but now it sort of tracks it all for you. Now this right here is also very useful, especially if you aren't fond of the idea of using any kind of like guides outside of the game or whatever. You can see here it says commonly used weapons reference. Data is sourced from recently active players. So these are weapons that people commonly use. So the one that I have on him right now, it's just kind of like I don't use Kaya very much right now. He's under leveled, so I just kind of have like a temporary placeholder weapon on there. So you can see it's not one of the commonly used ones. So these weapons are probably all better choices for him than the one that I have. And so you can do that too. You can use this to help you to see like, okay, what are most other players in the game right now? What do they have equipped on their Kaya? Like what, how are they using? So this gives you some hints about the build that they might be using for this character too, because different weapons might be better suited to a certain build if they're going for damage or support builds or whatever. And so we have all this here. So this can be helpful. Like, oh, okay, I have one of these and it's currently equipped by Jean. So, which it's a better weapon for her, I think, but in general, but it might be good for Kaya too. So, but if it's something like, hey, I can get another one of these. So let me, or maybe I have one of these in my inventory already, and then it'll probably tell you. And then you can equip that on them or whatever. So that gives you an idea of what other players are doing a little bit. And same with the artifacts. It's the same kind of thing. It's just current artifacts. His are not leveled at all. They're just there. I just have base artifacts on them. I haven't leveled them yet. And so there's quick artifact configuration. So this tries to sort of guess. If you don't want to mess around with the artifact stuff and you're like, I can't be bothered with all this complicated stuff. It's understandable because it's like, how deep down do you want to go into the game? You can just press this and it will pick artifacts that you have already. So these are all ones I already have in my inventory. And it will kind of try to pick a good set for him to use. In this case, the Blizzard Strayer 4-piece set. You can see set bonus. And then it tries to pick stats that are decent for him. So if you just don't want to mess with all this stuff and you're like, I don't want to, this is giving me a headache, whatever, I just want to play the game and not worry about it. You can go in here, do the quick configuration, press the Y button to equip, and it's probably going to be decent. It's not going to be terrible setup. So there could probably be better ones in general, but usually that does at least a decent job of putting something on a character that's going to suit them generally. And so we can see down here too, recommended artifact configuration. So it says plan 1, Blizzard Strayer × 4. So that's the artifact set is called Blizzard Strayer, and it's saying like, we recommend, and again, it says data is sourced from recently active players on the right side there. So these are what other players are using on their Kaya for the artifacts, just like with the weapons. So it looks like the majority of players are using a 4-piece set of Blizzard Strayer, and a lot of other players are also using a 4-piece set of the Emblem of Severed Fate artifacts. And then we can see here, some are using 2-piece sets instead. They're using 2. So this is another common approach you can do. If you don't want to use a 4-piece set to get the 4-piece bonuses, some characters will also make sense to use 2 separate artifacts and just use 2 pieces of each. So that way you get the bonus for the 2-piece bonus from 2 different artifact sets on that character. So for example, it was HP % there. And then let's see, what is this? Cryo damage bonus plus 15%. And then this one does attack plus 18%. So they would get both of those bonuses by wearing 2 pieces from Gladiator's Finale and 2 pieces from Blizzard Strayer. So that's an alternative setup approach that can work in a lot of cases. it's especially good if the characters, if that character in particular doesn't really benefit from the 4-piece set bonus very much, but they still could benefit a lot from the 2-piece set, then it could work that way. But you can see the percentage next to that is quite a bit lower. Only 6.8% of players have that. So most players are using either 4-piece of Blizzard Strayer or 4-piece of Emblem of Severed Fate instead. So that also gives you an idea like, hey, I don't really know how to build this character, but what are other people doing? And so you can kind of see here. And if you remember what we saw in here, quick artifact configuration, it's also pulling 4 pieces of the Blizzard Strayer set, just like the highest recommended stuff. Now, if I actually use the right stick and click on these, it's showing me the exact one that it's going to pick for me out of the ones that I've already collected from this set. So, and you can compare it to the current equipment. So you can see, okay, it's going from a 4-star piece 1 to a 5-star, so that's already a good benefit. And instead of elemental mastery, crit damage, and attack, it's the 5-star one has crit rate, crit damage, defense, and it's got an unactivated attack ability. So it's, perhaps slightly better, but you could directly compare that way. Like, okay, what are my main stats and what are my substats or whatever, like what you have now versus what it's recommending. And this is just picking something out of my inventory that I've already collected. So this is an artifact I already have right now. So it's doing the best it can with what you've got, basically. So if I didn't have any good stats for him, it might, like for this one, for example, it's already, you can see his portrait is there, Kaya's portrait is there. And so this one's already equipped on him. So it's saying, well, you've already got the best one of these that we could figure for, for him. And we don't have a better recommendation for you right now. So that one's already a good choice for him. The particular Sands artifact with attack percent and all that. So out of the ones I've collected, that's probably the best for Kaya that I've got. Doesn't mean there's not a better one and I just haven't gotten the right artifact yet. But, that's just kind of how that goes. So we can check these other ones here as well. So since Kaya's not very leveled up, I don't have a lot of stronger artifacts on him. As you can see, most of them that he has right now are just 4 stars and stuff. So this is probably a really good example to look at, actually, because you can see pretty significant improvement versus what he's wearing right now. So, like this one right now, he has just crit rate and flat HP. And the one that they would replace it with is not only flat HP, but also the same crit rate, but also HP percent and energy recharge. So those are going to be beneficial. So anyways, I think you get the gist here. And even this one's pulling Gilded Dreams. This is, as I have mentioned before, this is a substitute. It's a substitute set. It's not the Blizzard Strayer set. It's Gilded Dreams instead. So this is one where they're taking the 5th slot and they're saying, hey, you don't have a good cryo damage bonus artifact from Blizzard Strayer, but you have one over here in this other set. So we recommend you use this one for your 5th slot as a flex setup sort of thing. Now I already have a 5-star one for him in this particular slot with cryo damage bonus. It's just this one is level 4 already because I've leveled this one up a little bit for various reasons. And perhaps the stats might be a little bit different, but maybe not. This might be a case where you might not want to replace this one and, you may just want to level this one up or whatever. So, and you can see, if you press the A button, you can see it says check alternatives. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. It says current configuration, so you can tell it, like, I don't want you to pick this one, I want you to pick this one over here, or, whatever. You can kind of, and you can see here it says recommended sets, so they're trying to, like, show you which ones we would recommend you use, whatever. So, I mean, it goes pretty far into it, obviously. For me, the easiest way, like I said, is to look up a guide about what that character is about, what they can do, what they're good at, what they're not good at. Look that up online. That would be my recommendation. And then from there, it gives you sort of a frame of reference of what you're trying to accomplish with that character. And then you'll sort of know, like, okay, their best sets might be Blizzard Strayer, and this is why, and these are the stats I should focus on. Or you can just use this quick configuration. Like I said, you can just do this and not worry about all this stuff. And it will try its best to pick something that's going to be decent regardless, and you won't have to. I mean, it may not be perfect. It's not going to be as good. This quick artifact configuration setting is not going to be as good as if you had manually built your character, according to a specific build, and you've got the right setup for that. But it's also not going to be terrible either. You're not going to be like, oh, this character's a mess and I can't do anything with him. So it's going to do the best it can. So especially as you get further in the game and you get more artifact sets. So. And then finally here we've got talent levels. These are related to the basic attack, so normal attack, elemental skill, and elemental burst. Those are talents according to the game. So, and these start at level 1. But the more you level those, the stronger that they will become. So let me actually turn off this leveling because I don't really want to level Kai right now, but just to show you how all that worked, because it's a really useful feature and it helps take some of the pain points out of some of the parts that most players may not be interested in going that deep into it. But let me just show you with Siegeween here. So she has talents. So every character has this talent screen. So this is the normal attack one. And then the elemental skill and the elemental burst. So the more you level these, and you can see down there, required to upgrade. So there's different requirements that you need to upgrade each one. So as you play, you can get these, and this is a character talent material. There's a domain for this, just like we saw with the artifacts. There's one specifically for character talents. Now, unfortunately, it says domain of mastery, rhyming rhythm, and it says Monday, Thursday, Sunday. So this is a system that is really unfortunate. I wish they would do away with this entirely, make every day like Sunday. But so certain things, mostly talent materials and weapon materials, you can only get them on specific days of the week when you go to play. So if you were playing on a Wednesday, you couldn't get this item, which is super frustrating for me because it's like, again, like I said, this game is not the best at respecting people's time. So you could, you could need to play on maybe the only day you have to play is Saturdays. Well, you would never be able to get this item because you literally can't unless you're playing on a Monday, a Thursday, or a Sunday. Now, the one day a week that they sort of throw all that out the window is on Sundays. On Sundays, everything is available. So if you need anything specific like that, you can always get it on Sunday. But that's it. So everything else is tied up in this really frustrating and, to me, very unnecessary days of the week system, because the way I see it, there's already daily resin limits in place restricting what you can do in a given day. I think that they don't need this extra layer of you can only get this on Mondays and Thursdays, and they don't need it. It's unnecessarily restrictive. Because even if all you focus on was getting this particular talent material all the time, you'd still only be able to get so much per day. So I don't see the point, but other than to just frustrate players and make it so you have to play on specific days of the week now. So anyway, but if you happen to be on one of those right days, or if you're playing on Sunday, then you can get access to this item. Otherwise, that same domain will have different items because there's 3 different cycles. There's Monday, Thursday, Sunday. There's Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, and there's Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So those are the 3 schedules that you'll find for these items, these kinds of items that you'll need. Anyways, so we would need 4 of those to reach her normal attack up to the next level. I need 1 more of these, and this is something that comes from normal enemies. Normal enemy drops a specific kind. So, and these are something you get from a weekly boss. That's what these are, weekly boss battles. So weekly boss battles are kind of like big boss battles in the game. They're story related. They're large encounters, usually kind of at the end of a story, major section of story, you'll get one of these boss battles. So, and these, as I called them, weekly bosses, you can really only get rewards from them 1 time per week. It's a bit of a strange setup, but so you can get multiple rewards from for example, I could battle like 3 or 4 different weekly bosses, and that would be fine. And I get rewards for them. But if I wanted to get ones from this exact boss, like you only get that once a week, and otherwise you can't claim the rewards. So every Monday, I think it is when it resets. So I could go, and it costs daily resin to also claim these rewards, just like with normal bosses. So there's that also. You're limited on what you can claim. So, so you got to gather the right kind. And so each boss has multiple, the weekly bosses have multiple items that they can drop, multiple materials. And so Seedrine happens to need this one, the Lightless Eye of the Maelstrom. But you might, when you defeat that weekly boss, you might not get any of these. You might get a different kind, which would be for a different character. So it can take a while to get these talent materials that you need to reach the higher level of talents. But this is how you make the character stronger. So at level 1, her healing would not be doing very much, and her burst would not be doing much damage. But if you get them higher to, at least, I think for me, a good stopping point for most characters is level 8 on their major abilities that they happen to use on their talents. So, for example, with Seedrine, she's not much of an attacker. So I actually leveled her talent, her normal attack talent up to 6, but I don't need to do that. I mean, I could have left it at level 1 and it would have been fine because she doesn't use her normal attacks very much. So, but her main one for me was the healing, which is her elemental skill. So I actually maxed that one out. I usually don't max them out. I usually stop at level 9 or level 8, like I was saying. Usually level 8 is good for most characters. That's a good stopping point, where after that, the requirements as far as materials and stuff starts going too high. But if you want to go from level 9 to level 10, you need these special items right here called Crown of Insight. So it's a precious talent level of material, and that's very true because these are very limited. This is limited duration event reward. So these, I'm trying to even think, like I've got 42 of them right now, which I've been stocking up, but like I try to hold on to these as much as I can and use them extremely sparingly because the game does not hand you very many of these. So if you want to actually get your character's talents to level 10, you're going to need one of these, and you'll get them very, very rarely, very uncommonly. They don't come quick at all. I've gotten 3 years of playing, and I think I've leveled, I don't know, a couple characters. But you want to do like just their main ability. So like for me, the main focus for Seedrine is her healing. So that's the only ability that I pushed all the way to max was her skill. Did the same thing for Kokomi, if I remember right, except for hers. Yeah, hers I did 10. So here, this is a better example. So I leveled her normal attack up to 8, her normal attack talent, because like I said before, she can actually be a main DPS character. She can deal damage with her normal attacks. So when under the influence of her elemental burst here. But for me, I put the focus on the healing as the priority. And so I leveled both her skill and her burst to level 10 because both of those are healing related. So that's how she heals the team. And I wanted her healing to be as strong as possible. So I actually went through with it. But, otherwise a normal stopping point is 8. That's pretty good. You don't really need to push it to 9. It's very minimal gains. I'll just show you here. For example, like this is the difference between level 8 and level 9. And yeah, her attacks do a little bit more damage. Okay. And, charge attacks and all that. But it's not like astronomical, it's not like, oh man, this is going to make a huge difference if I get her up to level 9 or level 10. It's a modest difference, just by one level difference. So, if you're going to put any characters to level 10, I recommend you only use your favorites for that. Otherwise stop at level 9 because it's really not that big of a difference between 9 and 10, for the costs that's involved, especially with the Crown of Insights being needed. So here we can see another character, Nervalet. And his I stopped all on 8s. So since he's also a main DPS character, he's going to use his normal and charge attacks and stuff like that. You do actually want to level up his normal attack. A lot of characters that are not dealing damage with their main attacks. Either, what I like to do is either like Furina, I put her to 6 also. That's kind of strange. Usually I don't do that, but I'll usually stop at level 4. Like here's a good example, Lama. So her normal attack, I stopped at level 4. And the only reason I put it up to level 4 is to just get a little bit of, decent damage if she ever has to attack something for some reason with her normal attacks. But she doesn't use those at all. So I could have left it at level 1 and it would have been maybe better because I wouldn't have used these talent material resources. Leveling it up to level 4, I could have used those on some of her other stuff. But it's up to you what you want to do. I would say for sure no higher than 6 though for characters that don't use that particular ability. So I would stop there for sure because a lot of characters in the game, especially if they're support characters or healers or things like that, they're not going to be even needing their normal attack to be leveled at all. And you can see at the top it says talent upgrade reference. So if I press up on the D-pad, it says first priority level up. So this is as a data source from recently active players. So this is also tracking like what players tend to do. So this will help you if you're not sure what to focus on. So you can say first priority level up is her elemental skill. So for Emily here, she would be best to use your talents. Like if you're just going to focus on what her priority is, her main thing to level is her elemental skill. And when you've got that done, then you focus on her elemental burst. And the last one says level up as needed for her normal attack. So what that tends to mean is that, you don't even need to bother with that. But it's also just frequency based on what other players are doing. So it doesn't mean, it doesn't necessarily mean, the last one you don't need to level at all, because some characters you will need to level it also to make them effective, especially if they're damage dealers. Let's see, Noelle, yeah, she's another one. Oh, and if you ever see, I didn't talk about constellations yet, but if you ever see these blue numbers, it just means that there's something. Usually it's a character's constellations that unlocked by getting multiple copies of them on the banners. But it's boosting that level higher than normal. So, and you can see it says talent level +3 on the top. So this is actually only leveled up to level 8 as far as the materials and everything that I've put into it. But because I have the boosts for both her skill and her burst, they're actually up to level 11. So they're even stronger than normal. Normally 10 is the max that you can raise them in normal circumstances. But then if you have this talent level boost from constellations, it boosts it up even higher than that. So constellations are just copies. So we saw in the first video, I got a copy of Noelle and the other character was Sucrose. So Noelle, I've already got all her constellations unlocked. As you can see here, they're all shining and glowing. So that means for every character, it's like the first time you get a character, they're at constellation 0. They're all locked. So let me just show you on Skirk, for example. Wherever she went. Skirk, there we go. Okay, so see, now they're all locked. So this character is at constellation 0 for me, which means I've only gotten one copy of her from the banners. But if I get another copy of her someday, for some reason, I doubt I will, but if I did, usually with the 5 stars, you have to intentionally try to get multiple copies of them if you want their constellations. But the 4-star characters, they come more easily. So if I got one, for example, if I got another copy of Skirk, this would unlock, and then she would get this ability. It says Constellation Level 1, Far to Fall. It says enhances the effects of the Ascension talent, Reason Beyond Reason. Every Void Rift absorbed will summon a Crystal Blade to attack nearby opponents, dealing 500% of Skirk's attack as cryo damage. This damage is considered charge attack damage. So, not the easiest one to just understand at a glance what it does, but basically it makes her deal more damage. If you really want to dumb it down to the very simplest of terms. So if I unlock this constellation for her by getting another copy of her on the banners, then she would be at constellation level 1. And so every time that happens, if you get another one, then she'd be at constellation number 2. If I got a third copy of her, she'd be at constellation level 3, so on and so forth. And eventually, if you get enough, you can unlock all their constellations. Which every step of the way increases their capabilities, and sometimes it gives them totally new features that they didn't have before. But when you get to constellation level 3, It increases increases the level of Havoc Ruin by 3. Maximum upgrade level is 15. So this is what increases the burst and skill levels. Is level 3 and level 5. So I will say right now, for any 5-star character in the game, just forget about getting constellations beyond, I'll say, probably level 2, because the average player, it's not going to happen. It just takes literal years, for one thing, to get that many constellations for a character. But not only that, but just, it's, so many wishes involved, and, it's just out of reach for most players. It's constellation level 6 on a 5-star character either means they're a standard banner character and you've been playing for years, or it just means that, you spent a lot of money to get to that point, basically. Real life money. So, but 4 stars, like Noelle here, you can get them, it's possible to at least get them, up to decent constellations. So, and for Noelle, I've got her all the way up to level 6. So all of her constellations are unlocked. And for her, in her case, that actually increases, her ability it unlocks an ability for her to, play as a main DPS character that she couldn't have without her Constellation 6. So that's really interesting. Because you can see it increases her attack by an additional 50% of her defense. And it says every opponent defeated during the skill's duration adds 1 second to the duration. So it makes her deal more damage on top of increasing the amount of time that she's able to do damage. So she suddenly has the ability to deal good enough damage to be a DPS character. Whereas from Constellation 5 and less, she didn't have that capability. So she's one of those characters where if you want that particular playstyle for her, you have to go all the way to get 7 copies total and unlock her Constellation 6. So anyways, hopefully this isn't getting too confusing for everybody. I'm sort of on a explanation rampage here, but you can always just focus on your breathing if you're feeling a little overwhelmed or lost. As I said before, the game is very involved. There's a lot going on with it. But you don't have to worry about all this stuff. I just enjoy explaining things, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in my little zone here. But if you just want to focus on your breathing, that's fine. Feel your breath going in and out of your body. Feel that you're alive. And feel the peace that comes with that. So, all right, I think we've spent enough time in this character menu for now. We've got to see talents a little bit, briefly explain constellations. Artifacts, we've got a gist of that now. Weapons I didn't really talk about too much, but they also have the ability to, level them up. You can see it is level 90 weapon here for Ayato, and those have their own materials and things like that. They also have a main stat. You can see there, this is crit rate. That's the main stat of this weapon. And it also has a passive ability that, increases damage and things like that. So, but let's get out of this menu. All right, we saw the artifact domain. There's other kinds of domains, like I said, for the weapon materials and talent materials, but they function more or less the same as this one that we saw for artifacts, just with those daily limits, unfortunately. So let's see what we've got going on here. I think we may just try and wrap this one up at this point. I think I've covered quite a bit of stuff here. I'm going to cancel the navigation on that other enemy from before. Maybe teleport right back to where we left off over here for next time. Thanks everybody for watching up to this point. I hope, even though I forgot to do a lot of the, breathing meditation reminders, that you've been able to follow along okay, and also do some of that as well. Thank you for joining me here. And we'll see where we go for the next video from here. All right, have a great day and take care now.